Chapter 11. It could have been worse. Maxim and Gabe are the first to return to the Ghost. Gabe is loaded down with bags and boxes. As Maxim accesses the ship's systems via his wristcom, he says, "If nothing else, you saved us the rental fee for a cargo bot." He smiles as the cargo doors open and the boarding ramp lowers with a hiss. "Thank you," Gabe answers from behind a pile of boxes. "Let's get all this put away before the others get back." "Should we secure the ship?" Gabe asks as they crest the top of the boarding ramp. "No. The others should be along shortly. Computer, alert us if anyone approaches the boarding ramp." "Will do," the chipper computer replies from the nearest speaker. They're almost done stocking the shelves in the pantry when the computer pipes up. "Zephyr and Ben-Ari are approaching the boarding ramp." Maxim closes the pantry with a clunk. "Thanks." As the other two enter the shared space, Benny waves to Gabe. "Hey, big guy, can you help me unload the cargo bot?" Maxim walks over to Zephyr, pulling her close. "How was babysitting the small green annoyance?" He leans in and kisses her. She smiles back. "Surprisingly, not as bad as I expected. Let me tell you about it." They head off to the lounge section chatting. Benny looks up at Gabe. "Did you guys hear the explosion?" Gabe turns his head towards Benny, while his arms continue stacking jars of something Wil called an okay alternative to Nutella. He shakes his head, Benny shrugs. Just then, there's the sound of cargo doors closing. "Computer, start the pre-flight procedure," Wil's voice says. Maxim and Zephyr look up from their conversations. Wil is covered in dust. "How'd it go?" Zephyr asks. Wil opens the cooler and grabs a grum. "Well, Zarex's interests here on Malcor are more or less over. The Peacekeepers raided the place." Everyone stops what they're doing. Almost in unison, they all say, "What?" Wil raises his hand. "Yeah, I know, no idea what the hell happened. I know I wasn't followed, and there's no reason I would be. Lorath must have already been under investigation, and my showing up must have made them jump, thinking I was part of whatever they were up to. Either way, she's flapping in the wind, and her building is a lot of rubble, with the parts of a few peacekeepers thrown in. I gave her the data. I think she had it on her when she fled, but I'm not sure." He looks at Gabe. "For better or worse, you're with us now." The bot looks at each of them, then turns to Wil. "That is good." Wil stares back and blinks a few times. "Alrighty then. I kind of expected more. Anywho, let's get the hell out of here." Zephyr raises her hand. What exactly are we going to do now?" "Oh, well, yeah. I guess we should decide that, huh?" Maxim clears his throat. "We should take our evidence to the Galactic Commonwealth. Whether Zarex has the data or not, from what you say about him, he wouldn't do the right thing with it." Wil nods. "My guess is he's hoping to sell it back to the bad guys." Benny shakes his head. "We should hack into one of the main broadcast stations and transmit the evidence everywhere." Zephyr looks at Wil hard. "We can't do that." Wil looks over at Gabe. "Anything from you? Taking all opinions here." Gabe tilts his head. "I am just happy to be here." As if on cue, the ship chimes in. "Captain, the pre-flight checks are complete. We're ready to take off." Complications. "This just in. We're receiving word that the conflict in Harith system has escalated. What was once viewed as a small conflict between two rival factions within the system has since spilled over into neighboring star systems, precipitated by the destruction of a Zangar cargo convoy. The Zangar, until now, have not been involved in the conflict within the Harith system. The Galactic Commonwealth has not commented on the matter yet, beyond saying that they're closely monitoring the situation. However, observers have noted that several peacekeeper carriers have begun moving in the direction of the Harith system. Even though the GC and peacekeepers have no jurisdiction there, the Zangars are dues-paying members of the Commonwealth. It's unclear at this moment whether they have officially requested aid or not. We'll have more on this situation as it develops. I'm Monel Farash with GNO. After the broadcast, the display returns to the view of the stars. Wil breaks the silence. Well, fuck. Zephyr stands up at her station. We have to do something. Wil sighs. I know, damn it. Running both hands through his hair, he groans. We have to go to Harith. Gabe, who has taken up a spot standing by the hatch, asks, Is that wise? Based on the newscast we just saw, the Harith system is likely to be quite dangerous. Would it make more sense to go to Zangar? Maxim chimes in. Or maybe even Tarsus directly? No, Zephyr replies. I think Wil is right. It has to be Harith. Showing them the proof we have will immediately discredit the peacekeepers, and the rebels will probably lose all public support. They likely have support right now, because no one knows the peacekeepers are supplying them. Drin, the rebels may not even know who's supplying them. Wil looks down at his console. Setting course for the Harris system is the only play that makes sense, and honestly, the only play that I can see where we have a chance of not dying. Gabe, get down to engineering. It's been a few years since the Ghost has had a proper engineer aboard. Do whatever you need to get things ship-shape down there. Now that you're connected to the ship's network, just send over a list of must-have parts. Yes, Captain. Gabe turns to the hatch. Wil nods at the departing bot, then turns to Maxim. You might still get your shot with those weapons. Run all the diagnostics, get everything ready, and make a list of everything you need. Must-haves only. Benny sits up at his station. Can I go shopping again? No, Wil snaps, holding up a finger. But you can get ready. We're gonna need new ship IDs and transponder codes, at least 2. One to get us into the area, another to get us out. To be safe, maybe 1 or 2 more. Plus, if you can work on those firewalls on Gabe's backpack, that'd be great. You know how hard it is coming up with clean names and codes that pass even a little bit of investigation? Let alone peacekeeper levels? Benny asked. That's no small ask. It'll take me days at the very least. I know. Time to put all that gear I bought you to work. And you better get started. Wil turns to Zephyr. This isn't going to be easy. She smiles. But it will be worth it. ETA? Wil looks down at his console. A week. Probably a little longer if we have to make a stop to pick up essentials. Computer, keep tabs on GNO and other news sources for mentions of the Harith system or the Zangar system. Of course, Captain. The computer replies brightly. Within 2 days, the Ghost is entering orbit over Truel Prime. The crew stands on the bridge, watching the planet spin below them as they begin their descent to the surface. Gabe and Maxim both have shopping lists that make Wil's head spin, even after being pared down to what he considers the essentials. The report from engineering was worse than the one from tactical, which Wil had expected. He's had more occasion to use the ship's weapons and knows what works and what doesn't. Though in his years of owning the Ghost, he's never used all the available weapons. The missile bay is nearly empty, the port side disruptor emitter is in need of replacement, and the targeting computer is 2 firmware releases behind. That explains some of my targeting issues in the past, Wil thinks, remembering a time when some pirates were chasing him and the computer couldn't seem to hit a damn thing. I just hope we don't have to try to shoot anything. The past. The Reaper has been flying an FTL for somewhere near 12 hours. Wil has been sitting silently on the bridge the entire time. The images of his, well, technically captors, but also friends, sort of, dying horrible deaths at the ship's space station has been repeating over and over in his mind. Lanksham, bloody foam spilling from his mouth at the feet of the lead Hulgian. Rollo and Jax collapsed near the grav sled with crates loaded on it. Olgo lying on the crate he'd been sitting on, blood pooling around his head. Lanksham's last words over the comms unit. Good luck, Wil. I'm sorry. You're sorry. You're sorry, he mumbles. His voice is scratchy from lack of use. The bridge is dark. It's night on board the ship, and even though Will has been mostly catatonic the last 12 hours, the Reaper has been carrying out its final orders. Run away. To where, Will has no idea. The ship jumped to FTL, and he hasn't moved or spoken since. Computer, he croaks. What's our destination?
Current destination is spatial coordinates.
The computer rattles off a string of numbers that have no meaning to Will. Computer, stop. Take us out of FTL. The primary display shifts back from stretched out star lines to thousands of little points of light. Computer, are there any ships near us or planets? There's a slight pause as the computer consults the sensor data.
Negative.
The emotionless response comes from the overhead speakers.
There are no ships within sensor range. There are no planets or star systems within sensor range.
Will stands up, his legs sore from not moving in hours. Suddenly, he realizes he has to pee. A few minutes later, he's back on the flight deck, looking over each station, remembering the being who last sat there. He had barely known them, had only been part of the crew for a few weeks. But he had come to terms with the fact that he was never going home, and that for better or worse, the Reaper was his home. But now what? Can he operate the ship on his own? Does he want to? What would he do with it? Maybe sell it and get something else? Something more suited to his nature? He doesn't even know what the ship is worth. He spends a week drifting in deep space cleaning. The ship was always dirtier than he could stand, but with 6 aliens doing their best to dirty it, and 1 trying to clean it, he had never stood a chance. The cleaning helps keep his mind off of his situation. Every new station or section he moves on to, he asks the computer for an overview of its function and level of automation, building a mental list of what running the ship solo might look like. After the ship is as spotless as he can get it, he returns to the bridge and looks around. I can't avoid this any longer, can I?
Please restate question,
The computer replies. Not talking to you. Wait. Actually, I am. Put a star map up on the main display, the Reaper in the center, and highlight planets with spaceports we can afford to land at. The main screen switches to a zoomed-out view spanning several light years, with the ship in the center. A half-dozen planets are highlighted, their names on a tag next to each. Will walks around the forward stations right up to the main display. Humming to himself, he leans toward the screen. Fury. He walks back to the central control station where Langsham had piloted the ship from. Computer, set a course for Fury and take us to FTL. The display reverts to its normal view and the stars stretch into lines. Computer, ETA Fury. A beep, then
4 standard days.
Nodding mostly to himself since the computer, as far as he knows, can't see him, he says, Computer, does the ship have any type of training mode so I can get up to speed on piloting it?
Affirmative. This vessel is equipped with a training simulation mode. This mode can be activated while travel is underway.
Will plops into the captain's seat. My seat now, I guess. And tells the computer. Okay, activate training simulation. Wait, do you have other voices?
There are a number of voice prompts available. Would you like them listed?
After spending nearly 15 minutes listening to the ship say the same thing over and over in different languages and sexes, or lack thereof, Will picks one. Turning to face the main display, he says clearly, Okay, now let's go ahead and start the simulation. Then to himself he adds, You've got 4 days, Calder. Let's do this.
Simulation commencing.
The new bland but clearly male voice responds.